Hello, Medipreneurs. You're going to see some familiar faces this year at Medipreneurs Summit 2020, and that would be our own Sue Paul and Dan Krinsky. You know that they spoke to us last year about PGX 101. Now they're going to take a little bit of a turn in their presentation. A lot has happened over the last year. So they're going to talk about fun in pharmacy and how to work as partners, especially when you're not in the very same place. And I think you all have learned a lot of tips about why that's a really good thing and how to do it wisely. So Sue, I'll turn it over to you to tell us more about your session.
Okay, well, thanks, Michelle. Thanks for having us on. This year, we're going to take a little bit different perspective, and we're going to talk about the key factors important in establishing a new business, and then how Dan and I came together to form this business, and then how our extremely different personalities work well together to create what I consider a successful business. This is a side hustle for us at the moment. We're really enjoying what we get to do, you know, following our mission and our vision of educating more pharmacists about pharmacogenomics and other healthcare providers, and then how to implement it in their business. And so trying to be strategic about it, and how we came up with it, how we found the gap, and then finding our target market and that type of thing. So it'll be more business nookie type thing of the nuts and bolts of that.
Yes.
Anything to add, Dan?
Sure. I usually have something to add. So as Sue mentioned, we are going to take more of a business approach this year. And I think the main message that I want to try and get across to people is that you don't have to be sitting across the table with your business partner to have a successful business. And Sue and I live about 3.5 hours apart. We came together 3.5 years ago, and after that decided that we both had the same vision and we wanted to capitalize on that. And yet being 3.5 hours apart created some interesting challenges that we had to overcome to ensure that we were going to create a business that we felt was going to be successful. And there's a lot of ways to define success. I think we define success through the eyes and ears of our partners and the people that come to our seminars. We define success based on what we feel we're able to do to advance pharmacy and advance the mission of educating healthcare providers in genomics. And then I think another measure of success is revenue and money in the bank. And we're not afraid to admit that, you know, it's nice to have a little bit of money in the bank. We like to make sure that we have resources to continue to invest in the company, grow our marketing, grow our website, and do some things that we think will help to advance this. So it's not all peaches and cream when it comes to, you know, working with a business partner who's not somebody that you can just pop into the next office and talk to, but we talk on the phone regularly, and with you know, today's advances in communications, it's really much easier for us to be successful than it might have been even 10 or 15 years ago.
You know, over the last 2 or 3 years, as people have come to Medipreneurs and we've talked to pharmacists who are undergoing this rapid change in our profession and other healthcare providers too, I've seen people come together and they just kind of click at Medipreneurs. They find out they have similar interests, similar skill sets, or maybe even like matching up skill sets where they can complement one another. So I think this is going to be of big interest to some of those people, and let them know that even if they're on opposite coasts, they can collaborate in today's technology environment, like you were saying.
Yes, and even different personalities can work well together. And I think it's good to work with somebody who's got a different skill set than you do, because that complementary approach to the business is extremely important. So, you know, I'm more of a, I don't know, scientific nut, and I don't mind getting into the literature and looking at the evidence and doing updates and looking at certain aspects of the business and Sue has a great eye for marketing and a lot of other areas of the business that are very important. So I think we complement each other very well. And as you said, it's important to find people with whom you have, good business chemistry and a good business sense. And after you've identified that, you can pretty much do whatever you want.
If you have a good sense of humor.
That's very important. Yes. You got to click off the giggle meter, right?
That's right.
Not all the time, though. I think one of the things too that people will want to talk with you too about in your workshop is where you see pharmacogenomics going, though. Sue knows just in the last few days in Baltimore, I've learned it's about to explode in certain settings. And so I rely heavily on you two, and I think most of the people you've trained probably do. So I would imagine you're going to encounter some questions about PGX itself, your future vision for the training and the services you provide, as well as how big of a career path or a career element do you think this will be? So are those the kind of things that people can ask you about?
Yes, we'll be
Yes.
covering all those topics for sure.
Good.
Those are great topics and great ideas, Michelle. But yes, those are definitely going to be in the discussion.
Good. Because, well, things are changing and PGX is becoming a much more of a household term. So you guys are right place, right time, right approach, I believe.
We'd like to think so.
So if I were looking at all the sessions I could be attending, why would I choose yours? What sorts of information or decisions might I walk away with?
I think from my perspective, if you have an idea, go for it. We had met at a training session in Pittsburgh and left that training session not really knowing what each one of us was going to do with that, and reconnected at the Ohio Pharmacists Association and revisited the training and the fact that neither one of us had done much of anything with it, although Sue was implementing it in her practice setting. But we both had an idea, and 2.5, 3 years later, that idea has exploded pretty significantly. So if you have an idea, pursue it. Today's market for pharmacists is very challenging, very interesting. To have to rely on somebody else who may not share the same goals and vision for the profession as you do, to rely on that person every day for your career may not be the best decision. And we'd like to think that what we've done, even though it is kind of a side business, is something that could be expanded upon to grow significantly. And it may not be in pharmacogenomics. There's, a million and one other ideas out there. But if you have an idea, there's enough people that have been through the ringer that have had experiences that they can share. And I think that's the beauty of Medipreneurs is you have all those people together for a weekend and very willing to share. And just go for it. Don't overthink it. Just make it happen.
I like it.
But yeah, pharmacogenomics isn't going anywhere, to answer your initial question a bit ago, but I think it's going to be implemented more and more as insurance coverage improves and more science is coming out all the time. Dan is totally on top of that, and he's good at sharing the updated information. But the people who want to come to ours are establishing their business, need the nuts and bolts. What does a business partnership look like? Those types of nuggets, golden nuggets for sure.
True golden nuggets.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know I'm excited about your session. I think a lot of people are going to be lined up to come and hear you speak. So thank you both for coming back and being willing to do another workshop. And I like where you're going with this little bit different approach to talk about the ins and outs and logistics of partnership, because I see that in the future for a lot of Medipreneurs.
Well, thank you, Michelle.